Good morning. Thanks, Dick. Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Hudson. This is the membership meeting for the Hudson Area Chamber of Commerce and Tourism Bureau. I'm Mary Claire Olson, president of the Chamber, and it's my pleasure to welcome you all here this morning. We have an exciting program. As you can see, all of our candidates are ready to go, right?
Right.
They love sitting up here watching everyone watch them eat. That's what I said to them. But somebody said, "Why aren't I sitting up there?" I said, "No way. Why would I want to sit up there and have everyone watch me?" At this time, I'd like to recognize the sponsor of today's program that's listed on your agenda in front of you. And today's sponsor is Northern States Power Company, Wisconsin. Northern States Power Company, Wisconsin offers electric and natural gas services that provide energy to area homes, businesses, schools, hospitals, churches, and a variety of public facilities. Although NSP Wisconsin did not acquire its present name until 1923, the company can trace its predecessor companies back to Chippewa River Improvement and Log Driving Company, incorporated in 1872. Northern States Power Company, the Minnesota company, purchased the Wisconsin-Minnesota Light and Power Company in 1923 to capitalize on hydroelectric power available in Wisconsin. The newly acquired company became a wholly owned subsidiary of NSP and was named NSP Wisconsin. In 1987, NSP merged with Lake Superior District Power Company and last summer announced its plans to merge with Wisconsin Energy Corporation beginning in January of 1997. The electric generation and transmission system owned and operated by NSP Wisconsin is connected to the generation and transmission system of NSP Minnesota. The Wisconsin company's 19 hydroelectric plants, 2 fossil steam plants, and 3 gas turbine plants meet approximately 22% of customers' energy needs. The remaining electricity is imported through the transmission system, primarily from Minnesota. Today, NSP Wisconsin serves more than 221,000 electric customers and over 73,000 natural gas customers in western and northern Wisconsin and a portion of Michigan's Upper Peninsula. NSP Wisconsin's 800 full-time employees serve in communities and in power plants throughout the company's service territory. Corporate headquarters are located in Eau Claire with several offices throughout the state of Wisconsin, including Hudson. Would the representative for Northern States Power Company please stand and be recognized? Come on, Paula. You too could be a sponsor of Good Morning Hudson. We have a lot of good programs coming up in the next few months, and if you're interested, please see me following today's event. Please join me in also recognizing Daily Grind for catering today's breakfast. I notice you even have Easter eggs on there. You guys are just always with the theme of the holidays. At this time, we provide an opportunity for new members or guests to introduce themselves today. And if there's anyone in the audience today, either we have a very shy group or we have, okay. John.
Hello, Mary Claire.
No. I'm also speaking John Menard, I think.
John Berard Portrait Design. We do family children's portraiture. I've been a member of the chamber, but I heard they were great coffee and rolls this morning, so I had to take it.
That's the only reason you came, John? No, I'm just kidding. Thanks, John. There are a couple of announcements I want to make you aware of that are also listed on your agenda. The next business spotlight is this Thursday, March 20th at 5:30 at the Hudson House Inn. And if you didn't guess by opening your invitation, the theme is St. Patrick's Day. So I know you all love opening your invitations and getting those things falling out, right? I know, some don't, and we have noted that. The new member reception will begin at 5 p.m. that time also, and it's a great opportunity not only for new members, but people that are new to a business or someone new in your company, or if you'd just like to learn more about the chamber and how to get involved, and that will start at 5 p.m. on Thursday. And at this time, just before we hear from our speakers, we're going to take a brief break. I'd like you to take out 5 business cards and exchange with those around you, and I'll bring you back in a few minutes.
Do we get to do it too?
Hers was funeral real good.
Okay.
Drop a few.
Drop a few of those funeral home ones out there. You never know. You could get, some future business out of it. No wonder doing my cards.
to have your attention again. It's my pleasure to introduce our featured speakers for this morning. I will give you a brief background on each of the speakers, and then we will take questions at the end as time allows. And before I introduce the first speaker, I want to tell you the 2 questions that we have asked each of the candidates to respond to in their 4 minutes of comments. The first question is, we are living in one of the fastest growing communities in the state. How do you envision the city in the next 5 to 10 years in terms of growth, development, and planning? And the second question we've asked them to respond to is, there's a proposal to eliminate the parking meters, have 2-hour parking, and increase the fine. What are your thoughts on this proposal? There is no particular order for today's speakers, and so there wasn't a person who got to choose to go first or choose to be last. So we are just going to go in order as they are seated. First, we will hear from the candidates running in District 1, Minda Barthman and Mark Erickson. Minda Barthman. Minda was born and raised in Hudson, graduating from Hudson High School. She is the office manager for St. Croix Custom Fabrication and an independent consultant for Mary Kay Cosmetics. Her husband Tom is a 911 operator for St. Croix County, a Hudson firefighter, and owns a fire department and EMS training company. Minda and Tom have 3 children. Please join me in welcoming Minda Barthman.
Thank you, Mary Claire. And thank you, Paula and NSP, for sponsoring this morning's meeting. Can everybody hear me? I'm not used to these things. So. I grew up in Hudson, as Mary Claire said, and for your first question, how do you envision 5 to 10 years from now? I have great concern in that area. I remember the last 20 years and how quickly we have grown. Much of it had been planned and controlled. Many things didn't. Things just fell into place, or they were accidentally landed where they landed. The development of our city needs to be controlled. And our city council needs to be responsible and take action in this area. We need to plan for 5 to 10 years from now. We can't just let it happen. We need to consider the impact of what new business and residential development does to our city utilities, our street maintenance, and the impact it has on our public safety and on our schools. As our city grows, our present employees and our equipment to take care of our streets, are they adequate? As our city grows, can our wastewater treatment plant and our water pressure, is that going to be enough for those businesses that are 4 miles from those areas? Can our police department continue to patrol and protect our citizens as we grow residential and businesses? Can we continue to use temporary fixes in our new development? I had the opportunity last night to sit at the city council meeting as an audience member, and I was quite concerned. One of our council members at the meeting, as it was talking about planning, they were talking about having a new street developed into and beyond our present industrial park. And I got the feeling that this has not been planned for. There's not a big picture as to what's going to happen in our development park, and I believe before any more steps are taken, we need to see the economic impact of that development park. Where are the people that are going to work in these businesses that we want to attract to our city going to live? We need to have affordable housing for those people. As a office manager of a growing business here in Hudson area, I see the trouble we have in getting people to come and work for us, and we're reaching out to the far reaches of the county and out of our county. We're even drawing people from the Twin Cities area over here to work, but they can't afford to live in our town. We need to have places for them to live where they can afford rent, or they can afford to own their own home, because that's ultimately what that's our dream as citizens of the United States. Last night at this meeting, when they were talking about the development of the industrial park, I got the feeling, like I said, that no one really knew, at least not sitting in that meeting. Perhaps 10 years ago it was talked about, but what will this development park have impact? How much is it going to cost to put these roads in, and then how much are we as citizens and as a community going to get back from that? And where are those people going to live? And as we grow all these things, How are our other things going to fall into place? Our public utilities, our fire department, our police department. One of the things one of the council members said last night in talking about the plan for 5 to 10 years from now, he said, "I don't think we can see that far." And I'm quoting him. I don't think we can see that far. We have to see 5 to 10 years from now, because if we don't plan and things just keep falling, there's going to be big problems. And I think that we've got, as Mary Claire said, one of the fastest growing areas in the state, and we need to control our growth and plan for our future. We can't predict which businesses are going to be here, but we can certainly make it attractive for them to come in. But while we're doing that, where are their employees going to live, and how are we going to get the water to them without doing temporary things? Another thing that came up last night was, we don't know if we're going to do this wastewater treatment plant. Well, has there been a study as to what we're going to need in 10 years? Didn't sound like it last night. Our city council needs to be responsible for these things and to plan for them. As far as the parking meters go, as I said, I grew up in Hudson. We've had parking meters for a long time. I've more than once cursed them. I've more than once been in a business, and this is within the last 6 months, been in a business where an employee have said, "I have to run out and plug my meter," and I've gone, "Oh, I'm parked 2 blocks away." And it just, you feel real upset, and I think that's one of the things. I don't think parking meters are bad. I think that as far as the enforcement of them, a parking meter is easier than having 2-hour parking, because our enforcement, we just don't have the manpower, or we can't afford the manpower to go and check the cars for 2-hour parking. But at the same time, I think as business people, we all need to make sure that our employees aren't using the closest spots. And our downtown is important. That's what makes us still have the small town feel and makes people want to come and visit us for tourism and for to live here. So my time must be up. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Minda, for your comments. And as I said, we will take questions at the end after they've all spoken. The second candidate running in District 1 is Mark Erickson. Mark was raised and born in Hudson and graduated from Hudson High School. Following graduation from St. Olaf College, Mark returned home to enter the real estate development and management business. He founded Ladstand Homes in 1986 and has been active in the residential development and home building business since that time. Please join me in welcoming Mark Erickson.
Good morning. I'd like to thank NSP, the FIPS, and the Chamber for giving us the opportunity to discuss some of our views with you today. Growth. Hudson is an incredible community in which to live. There's no reason to expect the residential growth we've witnessed recently will diminish anytime soon. Our real estate taxes are nearing parity with Minnesota, and the new bridge and excellent freeway system offer easy metro access. It takes less time to commute from Hudson than many closer-in communities in Minnesota. In addition, the new high-paying jobs created by our local growing economy and industrial base will spur residential growth at an ever-increasing rate. But jobs and location aren't the only reason we'll grow. Few places anywhere can match our small-town charm, friendly people, low crime rates, excellent schools and churches, beautiful parks, clean environment, and many natural amenities. The city projects annual growth of nearly 2.5% over the next 10 years. This represents half again the annual growth rate experienced over the past 25. By the year 2005, our population will increase from the current 7,300 to around 8,700. And in order for that growth of this magnitude to occur, residential property currently online within the city will nearly be full. In addition, residential development property will be annexed and city services extended to service this property. The new sewer plant should be completed in 2002 to handle the demands of this growth. Other infrastructure improvements will occur as well, such as the extension of Carmichael Road and completion of the Riverfront Development Plan. This will allow area residents to more fully enjoy the potential of Lakefront Park and the St. Croix. Much the same is true for commercial and industrial development. Available commercial land is being rapidly improved as retailers take advantage of the excellent access, visibility, increasing traffic, and business climate Hudson enjoys. I expect to see more than one major shopping center development within the next 5 years, and several other commercial businesses to augment our residential and industrial growth. St. Croix Business Park is online and growing. Wisconsin still enjoys significant tax advantages over business in Minnesota, and our location makes us more attractive than Wisconsin alternatives for prospective industry. Hudson's many amenities make it easy to attract and keep highly skilled employees. Improved access will accelerate the growth of this park, which should be fully developed within 7 to 10 years. This will surely spur more development in that area as city services are extended. The high-paying jobs and tax revenues this project will produce for Hudson are significant. Proper planning to ensure growth is fairly regulated and occurs in a responsible manner will be a challenge. Worthwhile goals for dealing with this growth are always striving to maintain and improve our current quality of life, ensuring that fair impact fees place appropriate infrastructure expenses with developers, examining the cost-benefit analysis of new development, especially annexations, make sure new development pays for itself, increasing the scope of our current master plan as demand dictates, enhancing property values and the environment, respecting the rights of property owners, and improving neighborhood communication and input regarding development planning whenever possible. Hudson is an incredible place to live. Let's keep it that way. Parking. For many years, the parking meters in town have been used not only to regulate parking, but to raise money to purchase land for new lots, as well as maintaining existing lots and meters. Currently, the parking meters and fines net around $15,000 after expenses yearly towards these purposes. The current balance in this account is somewhere in the $270,000 range. The problem is the current system is being abused by some business owners and employees who simply plug the parking meters all day, thus tying up valuable parking spaces which should be available for customers. This hurts our ability to retain our downtown retail mix. For this reason, and because the funds raised by the meters are far short of what it would take to build a ramp to solve parking concerns in the near future, I'm in favor of removing or covering the meters and going to a tire marking system with a 2-hour limit and increased fines. Once a new system is in place for a while, the city will be in a position to know if current off-street parking is sufficient to accommodate non-retail demand and can react accordingly. I love Hudson. It's been a great place for me to grow up, live, and raise my family. It would be a privilege to serve as a member of the council. I believe that with my experience, knowledge, common sense, and vested interest in the community, I can be a valuable member of the team. Thanks.
Thanks, Mark. The candidates running in District 5 are incumbent Ron Troyer and Randy Morset. Ron has represented the 5th District since 1994. He is a graduate of University of Minnesota. I just have to put a plug in here that the Gophers will play on Thursday night. They're the only Big Ten team remaining in the NCAA dance, so just thought I'd put that plug in there for you. Go Gophers. I'm sure all of you are heading to San Antonio. I wish I was, but I'm not. But anyway, we will cheer from the sidelines, won't we, Ron? Absolutely. Yes, we will. And Ron also received his master's in education from Xavier University. Ron has been a licensed funeral director for 30 years and manages the Cook Funeral Homes in St. Paul Park and Cottage Grove. Ron is very active in the community, serving on a number of boards, and he and his wife Jean have lived in Hudson since 1984. Please join me in welcoming Ron Troyer.
I am a big Gopher fan. Thank you for plugging it. Well, as the first incumbent to speak, let me say some things about the last 2 years that I've been part of the City Council. I think you've had a council that's been very concerned about controlling city spending and expenses. And in fact, if you're aware of what we've done, you know well then that over the last 2 years, we have kept city spending to about 1% increase, or an average of 1% over the last 2 years. I don't think historically you'll find that has happened anywhere in the history of this city. We used funds last year from when we closed 2 of the TIF districts, the tax incremental financing districts, to reduce our debt, because we have sizable amounts of debt that have to be taken care of, and there are some balloon payments that we should all be concerned about. And so we reduced the size of that debt, and we're saving a great deal of interest money by doing that. Last night we took action to refinance debt that's due from 91 and 92, and we're going to refinance that debt and save about $135,000 because the market's right to do that. Those are the kind of things that this present council has been very concerned about and has acted and worked very hard to do, is save money in the area of spending and reducing our expenses. The other thing I think that's happened in the last 2 years that I'm very proud of is that we have recreated responsive administration in city government. I'm very proud of the fact that in my place on the council, we've been able to, through ordinance, recreate the position who heads up our city. And we now have a city administrator. Brian Gramitz has been here for a year, and he's done an outstanding job. We brought in a very capable person who has knowledge and experience to lead our city, because the way our government works is our mayor can't do all those things because it's designed to be a part-time mayor's position. And we've been very, very fortunate in the city, and we have a mayor who works harder than anyone else in city government and spends more hours in city government to make sure that we have good, responsible government. But now we also have in place a city administrator. And with that new administrator came new job descriptions and new job evaluations, and so that as a council we're looking carefully to those who do the work that's demanded of them. And we've gone to merit pay for our supervisors and department heads. And I think if you're a business person, you understand that we just can't continue to give raises without evaluating and basing those things on merit. Those are the kind of positive things that I think you'll find this council has done the last 2 years that are very important. In terms of economic development, it is very true we're moving ahead, and we have moved into a new industrial development park that will add $59 million in assessed values when that park is full. It's 130 acres of industrial park in which we have 1 tenant now and 4 prospects. That property sells for $1 a square foot, a little over $43,000 for an acre. You can't find property elsewhere that has improvements like it has and has the kind of wonderful things that Wisconsin offers that other states can't offer. That's the kind of responsible development that we've provided, I think, that makes a great deal of important. Other things the council's looked at is development within the city. The lot in front of the post office now, we've decided as a council we want to develop that because we own that property, but we're going to look at it very responsibly and develop that so that it looks good, because that corner is an important corner now with a new post office there. And we're going to develop that piece of property, and we're going to get some excellent money that's going to be added to those revenues the city needs to pay off its debts. In the area of housing development, we've done some really significant things in the last 2 years. There is a building boom taking place in this city. We're going to add 587 family units in the Stone Pines and Oak Ridge family homes developments. That's an important addition to our city. It's going to add to the tax base. We're going to build better schools, and it's going to bring new people into our community. And one of the things I think is going to happen, because in that new mix of housing there are townhomes, and our seasoned citizens in this community want property that requires less maintenance, we're going to see a trend where they're going to sell their homes but want to stay in our community because it's a good community to live. They're going to live in townhomes, but that's going to open up more affordable housing within the older part of our city, and families will be able to afford those, and they will live in our communities. And we don't have to worry whether people are going to move here. They're going to move here, and there's going to be a mix of housing available for those people in many, many different ways. Lakefront development will occur. I'm absolutely convinced of that, and it will occur in an orderly and designed manner. In fact, Lakefront is in the district that I represent, and I'm very concerned about that. But we're going to see some things added into the Lakefront Park itself that are going to come from private funding. We're going to develop the property along Lakefront, and it's going to add substantial dollars to our tax base. The downtown development will continue. I'm not concerned about us losing our downtown area. I think it will develop, and our chamber is part of that. The chamber and those others who make strong investments in our community is very concerned that we're going to do that, and so I think it has a definite future. Regarding the meters, I favor the meters staying in place. I think the meters should stay in place on the H in our community. That's 2nd Street, Locust, and Walnut. Those meters serve a useful purpose. It was Henry Ford who said, "It's not the employer who pays the wages, he only handles the money. It's the product that pays the wages." And that's what we need to think about as employers and employees who are in the downtown district. It's your product that's not important. It's your product that is important. And if you can't get people to your product, you're not going to have the wages to pay them. And employers and employees need to be re-educated or continue to be educated about the need to provide parking spaces for those customers so they can get to the product. And unless we do that, now I'm not very sure that I favor increasing the fines, but I do think the meters serve a useful purpose, and 25 cents for 2 hours is very reasonable. We need to turn over that. But we do have funds available in our parking utility. I think we can use some of those funds to buy more computerized equipment that will work more efficiently than marking tires, but that would read license plates, and perhaps we need to do some of those things. We can open up some of the city lots that we have that are presently metered and have more extended parking, but the meters serve a purpose in my mind. Because if they turn over parking, then we can provide the kind of exceptional service that's necessary. My vision for the next 5 to 10 years, well, I can tell you what it's not going to be. It's not going to be me involved in city government, because my term's going to be up. I will have served my time and have served it well and be proud of what I've done. But it's not my goal to be around city government the next 5, 10 years. And what I know happens in city government is that new people, new members of the council, and new mayors have different ideas. There are large master plans that we work from, but things do change, and you look back 10 years where we were and where we're at now, and things have changed too. But what I do see in our city is great schools, safe neighborhoods, open government that continues to contain expenses and spending like we've done the last 2 years. What I can tell you, my vision for the next 2 years, because that's what I'll be part of, is that we will double the wastewater treatment plant, because we're presently at 90% of our capacity for the present wastewater treatment plant. So we will take action, I think, over the next years to double that wastewater treatment plant, because we're going to have to. I think we're going to continue to scrutinize carefully the cost of annexation. It costs a great deal of money to bring property into the city. We've got to look very carefully at what it costs to provide those city services and who's going to pay that cost, and that hasn't been done in the past, and that's why we have some very large debt. We're going to have to review developers' agreements and impact fees to be sure that they're fair but competitive. One of the things is we don't want to make it uncompetitive so that people pass us by, but I think we can be fair in what we do, and we can recover those costs so that we're not adding to our debt burden as a city. And I think we're going to continue as a council to fine-tune our budget so that we look at our revenues and our expenses very carefully. And I think historically that's something that's being done now that it was not done in the past. Robert Kennedy once said that the future does not belong to those who are content with today. Rather, it belongs to those who can blend vision, reason, and courage into a personal commitment. It's been my personal commitment the last 3 years to serve on this council and serve well. There has been reason, there has been a vision, and there's been courage at times. Because in the past, our council's been filled with bickering and nastiness that's not been good. Over the last 2 years, what I can tell you is that there has been a single vision or a focus on getting the work done that needs to be done, and that's made for good government in the city, and that's the kind of government I believe you want. And if you're voting for the incumbents, then you're voting for the people who are going to move our city forward into the year 2000. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. The second candidate running in District 5 is Randy Morseth. Randy was born and raised in Hudson, and his family has been very involved in the community for many years. After graduating from UW Stout with a degree in psychology and a minor in criminal justice, he's a juvenile counselor in Stillwater, Minnesota. Please join me in welcoming Randy Morseth.
Good morning, thanks for the FIP Center. It feels good to be back here, although I'd rather prefer the stage than a podium, but that was a long time ago. As I was born and raised here, and I'm concerned. Let's talk about what's happening downtown, Old Town Hudson. Revitalization in Hudson as far as terms of growth. I agree with a lot of points Ron brought up. I watched this downtown grow. I watched Lakefront develop into something that I used to play in when it was this big, and now it's this big in terms of growth in front of the FIP Center here. I watched the band shell get rebuilt. That's great. It brings something back to attract the downtown Hudson. We can't forget, though, that Old Town Hudson is down here, the district that I want to represent. I was born and raised here, and all the growth that's happening on the other parts of town is fine. But who's paying for that right now? Who's been there with the money that's there? The Old Town Hudson is funding that in a sense. I mean, the tax base is there, they've been paying taxes and stuff, but yet all the money is going up on the hill. What are they seeing down here? We need to bring back that stuff, because what we have in this district is fixed incomes. We have rental units that students can't afford or whatnot, can't afford to be living there when certain things are shifted from tax roll to different bills. I believe in responsible managed growth, but we have to take a look at the part of Hudson that has been there and that's going to continue to be there supporting the growth. I think that we need to find ways that will attract the businesses that are going to attract jobs. I mean, if we want to attract these businesses, there has to be a reason why we want to fund it. We want to bring them in, but at the same time, we need to bring them in to support the community with the jobs, to bring jobs to them. You know, as I say, and as Melinda, excuse me, parking meters, you know, I've been raised in, you know, here all my life, and I think too that the downtown should keep the meters. They generate revenue, it creates turnover, and altogether, you know, it's supporting itself. But what we need to also understand is, I think maybe the Parking Utilities Committee needs to come back in itself, because we need to hear the concerns of other individuals about what they think, about what the citizens think about parking meters. Not just elected officials, excuse me, making decisions without input from citizens. I'm concerned about that because I think we need more communication between the council, the representatives, and the constituents in their council. I think there's been a lack of that. I think you need to address concerns that have been brought up by constituents in certain districts and being ignored. We're here as elected officials, they are, to work for you as people. You put them there. So we need to answer every question that comes in. We need to be concerned with why they wanted us there in the first place, what got you there in the first place, and address the needs of them. I think sometimes this council has been getting too mudded down in all this politics stuff, and you don't know when to turn your back because you're going to get stabbed. I'm concerned about that. Good traditional politics. Door to door saying, how do you do? Please vote for me. Asking for a vote. I'm committed to being an individual communicator and spreading that word, spreading it to the constituents that I would represent if I'm elected. Thanks.
Thanks, Randy, for your comments. The candidates running in District 6 are incumbent Judy Kelly and John Schomer. Judy Kelly has lived in Hudson for 26 years. She is a graduate of University of Colorado and did postgraduate work in counseling and education. For the past 23 years, Judy has worked as an employment counselor and employee relations specialist for the State of Wisconsin Job Service. Prior to that, she was a junior high school teacher. Judy has served on the Hudson City Council for 2 terms, from 1989 to 91 and 95 to 97, where she has served on several different committees. She has been a volunteer for the Pierce County Humane Society, and during the mid-1980s, Judy owned and operated a Hudson downtown retail antique store called The Addict. Please join me in welcoming Judy Kelly.
And thank you, well, my NSP lady left, but thank you also the council. I have to be up front. This is not my favorite thing to do, speaking, so just up front, bear with me if I get a little nervous, but I'd like to share with you my visions of what I think Hudson might look like in 5 to 10 years. So I'm going to take you on a little tour. And I'd like to start, first of all, by saying I think we do need careful planning, because I'd like to maintain the wholesome hometown atmosphere that we have now. I think that's most important, and most of the people, when I talk to them, that's the reason why they like to live here or why they've moved here. I'd like to start down at Lakefront Park. I think our wonderful water access, we have to maintain that. I like the family picnic areas and the playgrounds. I'm hoping we might see that wonderful interactive fountain that they're planning and that's being proposed and actually funded by private individuals. So that would help for the children to play in. I'd like to go north then along the river, and there's a Burlington Northern right-of-way there, and I think it would be a wonderful idea to have a real nice walking path there that would be safe, possibly some additional parking periodically along it, and I'd love to see that Norlake building turned into a nice restaurant overlooking the St. Croix. One of my big things is to, or my big concerns, is to somehow provide safe transportation or safe ways of getting from one park or one place in the city to another park or another place in the city for the children. I know many of the parents get tired of being taxi drivers, so sometimes the kids have to ride their bikes or walk, and many people also like to walk. One of my priorities is to get a safe pathway, bikeway, walkway, whatever you want to call it, all the way up Vine Street, past what I hope will be our new wheel park, and at the YMCA, and on to the, what I hope will be a safer Carmichael Vine UU interchange. We do need stoplights there. We do need turn lanes. If anyone has to go through there between 7:30 and around 7:30 in the morning, it's difficult to get through there. I'd like to see the city work with the township and the county to put that pathway on out to the new Field of Dreams, the soccer fields that are planned. And if we go south then on Carmichael, if you're kind of following me around the city, if we go down south on Carmichael, we'd probably see on the right-hand side or the northwest side the new country club that's planned, maybe a new restaurant, possibly a new motel down there, some more retail. If we continue to go south on Carmichael, over the I-94 interchange, you would see again more commercial being developed along there, and then we'd see our new Hanley Road that is proposed and we're working on. That will go through to our prosperous, and I'm sure going to be prosperous, new business park, and possibly on to Highway 35 and that new interchange that they plan. We're in the process now of purchasing some property on the top of that ridge, and I had the opportunity to go up there with Mr. Gilbert and some people when we looked at that property. It is one of the most beautiful views of the city. I think we need a community park up on top of that ridge, and I know this is coming as a surprise to many people, but I enjoyed it, and I think the rest of the community should enjoy looking at that. Below that, at our dog track, I'd like to see that turned into a privately owned training convention center, possibly with an athletic facility in the lower level. This is something that companies need in this area. It's beautifully designed with the television sets on it, interactive television sets and closed circuit for a training facility. Then if we go back down to our downtown busy retail area, which I hope will be, I do want to see a parking problem down there, because I want to see so many shoppers that they have to walk a little. But I think we want those parking problems to result from a lot of customers. I agree that what the other people have said, that there is a problem. Some of the people who work down there forget that, and they use those parking places for 8 hours. We have to encourage them to use the municipal lots. In addition to that, we do have some monies, and perhaps that should be focused. We could focus that money into developing more parking. I'm not so sure about multiple lots, but they should be safe, accessible, and well lighted. I do love living in Hudson, and I'd like it to stay much like it is. I know we're growing, but I think we can do it with careful planning, and I thank you.
Thank you, Judy, for your comments. The second candidate running in District 6 is John Schomer. John was born and raised in Prescott, Wisconsin, where he graduated from Prescott High School and entered the U.S. Marine Corps for 4 years. After that, he attended UW River Falls for 1 year before being hired by the Hudson Police Department in 1972 and served until 1977. From 1977 to present, John has been working at St. Croix Storage and Transfer as president and general manager. He also is a licensed insurance agent. John was mayor of Hudson from 1978 to 84. Following that, he served as city council member until 1986. John is currently serving on the Hudson School Board. Please join me in welcoming John Schomer.
Good morning, and thank you all for coming, and the Chamber for providing this opportunity. I hope you think that they saved the best for last, and anyone that lives in District 6, please vote for me with that in mind. This is a small group, but I think you people are some of the leaders and some of the most important people in the city of Hudson. You own the businesses here, you pay the taxes here, and you employ a lot of people, so thanks for coming this morning. If I have a theme, I guess, for running, I was on the council 10, 11 years ago, I think that theme could be presented as we need to act responsibly. There's a lot of things happening in Hudson in the next few years, and we need to take a look at them, to act responsibly, to complete some projects that have been put on the back burner, some things that aren't happening right today. Our growth in this community has been significant. You've all seen that. Some of your businesses have grown. Some of you have moved here because of the growth. And that growth isn't going to change. I think it's going to continue. We're going to see a lot of new things, a lot of new faces, and maybe the next time the election comes around, this group will be twice the size because of the growth. Part of the problem I see with that growth is what I would term as leapfrog development, or basically what I define that as is we're developing over here and then over in this section, and we're running utilities out here on a temporary basis, or we're running them out here on a temporary basis because that's where somebody wants to develop. It's costing us lots of money. As most of you know, you can see that some of the utilities are run on a temporary basis. We put in temporary lift stations, temporary pipes, and those will be taken out when the permanent ones are put in. I think we need to take a look at the long-term aspect of that, and we need to run utilities in the area that's going to develop first. We don't need to leapfrog over 90 acres of industrial land in the city of Hudson and put a new industrial park a quarter-mile away and run temporary utilities or haphazard utilities that don't meet the needs of the market out there. We need to develop responsibly and to develop what's already available within the city. Our utility costs are going to be an expensive part of that development, and I agree with the council that we need to have some developer costs participate on a more cost-effective basis. We need to have some of those fees brought up, and we need to have them pay for what they're doing. We need to take a look and take a strong position on what's happening with the Stillwater Bridge. Some of the suggestions are to run the traffic down to Hudson. Forget about that bridge. Let people come into Hudson and run straight through town, and then we would absorb those costs. We need to take a look with the state of Wisconsin and the state of Minnesota and act responsibly and work towards a solution for that and work fast. That bridge, with or without, it's going to create an awful lot of development to the north of our community, and it's going to affect us greatly, so we need to be involved in that. I won't keep you real long this morning. I appreciate you being here. My last few comments will be on the parking utility and the parking meters. During my first terms in the city council as mayor and as a council member, we ran a couple of experiments. When we redid the lighting downtown about 15 to 20 years ago, we left the parking meters out just to see how it would get some reaction from the businesses and the shoppers. Ultimately, the chamber came back and asked us to put them back in. I'll support whatever the chamber wants. If you want to go to 2-hour parking, I'll support that. But let me tell you, I think it's a mistake. I think we need the parking meters to turn over the customers downtown. We need to create that turnover so that they can get to your businesses. And we need to have the employers talk to their employees and get them to park farther away so that person with $1 in their hand can come and spend it in your store. We need to also take a look at downtown Hudson. I agree with Randy Morissette and that this is the basis of our community. It's old, historic Hudson. Any pictures that anybody's using in the community, what are they using? They're using the lakefront park, the arch, the downtown businesses to draw people into town. When we do a TIF district, we can afford to do that TIF district because there's a substantial tax base already here. That tax base is downtown. We need to take a look at the city getting involved in recommitting some funds to the downtown area to keep it up, to finish some projects like the lights in the lakefront park, to put the lights on the other side of 2nd Street, to complete some of those projects that were started years ago by a lot of you folks here. We need to make a commitment downtown, but we also need to have a plan for the future in our undeveloped areas and in the new areas in the hill. But I think we've committed a lot of money up there. We need to take another look downtown. I appreciate you all coming here this morning. I won't take any more of your time. Thanks very much, and don't forget to vote on April 1st.
Thanks, John, for your comments. At this time, we will take questions from the audience, and I ask that if you are asking your question, if you state if it's for all the candidates or for one particular candidate, and for the TV audience, I will repeat the question that you asked. So, are there any questions from the audience this morning? Kelly.
Judy Kelly had mentioned the issue of expanding or widening Vine Street and County Road UU. Dr. Burns and his school bulletin listed that as a high priority for the school district, more from a public safety issue. I'm wondering what sort of thoughts you have and what sort of direction the city of Hudson should take to help that get accomplished.
Is that for all the candidates?
Yes.
So the question regarding expanding and widening UU, the Vine Street area, and the concern about safety up between the high school and the middle school. So I ask that each candidate please respond with 1-minute responses, and we'll start with John.
I think as everybody's aware, as Judy said, if you travel Vine Street, basically any time of the day, you're going to see a congested traffic way and thoroughfare. If you'll look, most of the development that's happening in Hudson right now is happening on that road or has access to that road. The Stone Pine development, which is going to have hundreds of homes, will probably access that road to get to downtown, to get to the schools, or to get to the YMCA, which is also another large draw. That road needs to be a priority, and it needs to be completed in conjunction with the extension of Carmichael Road. When Carmichael Road is extended over to County Road A, that road, Vine Street, is going to be doubly busy. There needs to be a plan, and it needs to be addressed soon. The school district, which, as a representative of the school board, we're actively involved in that. And it needs to be done soon so that your kids and our families can get up and down that safely.
Thank you, John. Judy?
Well, as I say, I think it is a major priority. I live up there. I believe the big thing is it's very costly, so we have to work on that. We're trying to work together with the county and the schools to be able, because they'd be a big portion of the, they're creating a lot of the problems, and actually they'll get some of the assessment. But we have to plan it. It has to have the turn lanes, and it has to provide the safety for the number of people that are going to be going through that and the children that are moving through that vicinity. So it's a must. We have to do it, and whatever it costs, it has to be done.
Thank you, Judy. Randy?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, number one, safety's first. I mean, no cost is going to outweigh the safety of our children, so I agree we gotta get it done reasonable and manageable.
Thank you, Ron?
The problem we have up there is that property is county, township, and city. It's not just one entity. So the dialogue between the groups has been, who's going to bite the bullet and do it? And that's where we're at on that. It's not something that anyone's unaware of. It's a matter of sitting down, negotiating, and deciding who's going to be most responsible and take that project on. And it will be done because there is a safety issue there.
Thank you, Ron. Mark?
I agree it needs to be done, and I'm unfamiliar with whether or not enough right-of-way exists along that road without acquiring new property to actually widen it. One feeling I have very strong on it is that a widening of that street, while it definitely must occur, should not be something that's picked up through assessments by adjoining property owners. It's a large street. It's going to handle traffic from more than one jurisdiction and benefit the entire city. And so I just want to make sure that at such time as it is improved, that the property owners along the street aren't solely responsible for the improvement of it.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Minda?
As the mother of both a middle school child and a high schooler, I've traveled that in the morning. Plus, I also go about 4 miles out of my way to go to work because I work in the township of Hudson. I don't travel that road in the morning. It should be one of our top priorities. And I don't think we can wait for the town of Hudson or the county to act on it. And yes, the school district is involved because they have schools there, but at the same time, it's our responsibility to make sure that that is wide enough and safe enough. One of the small things that has come up in the last 6 months has been the turn lane by the Y. And being someone that had one of the many accidents that has happened in front of the Y, I know that that's very important. No matter what it costs, that should be one of our priorities, to get a light in there and get that interchange taken care of.
Okay, thank you, Minda. Any other questions this morning?
You all articulated your positions very well. I'm wondering what you are doing, and this to all of you, to get input from the rest of the community so that you can shape your opinions based on what the real community needs are.
The question is, how are you getting all of your input to shape what you feel the community input is from the constituents? And we will start just randomly with Randy.
The old-fashioned way, door to door. You got to go talk to the people that you want to represent. I mean, you can get all the information you want in any local media or any information from the computer or internet, the library or whatnot, but the old-fashioned way is go door to door and ask, what are your concerns? What do you want addressed? What do you need? What do you think the future of Hudson is? Asking your constituents is what I would do.
Okay, Mark?
Definitely communication with friends and neighbors has to be the starting point. And hopefully between that and the knowledge that a candidate gets through living here and doing business in town, they will be in a position to act accordingly.
Judy?
I think you have to listen. I think you have to listen to all the business groups, the citizens, your constituents. I do go door to door and spend a lot of time talking with people, and that's how you get a feel for what the problems are, and spend some time driving around and actually experiencing them.
Minda?
In addition to the door-to-door, I think that's very important, talking to neighbors, friends, anyone that is a resident of the city, not just in my district. I also think it's important to talk to the business owners in our city, whether they live here or not. These are the people that we want to keep here. They are a big part of our tax base, and I've been talking to some of them already in my campaign.
Ron?
The district I represent is this area right here, and so talking to the business owners has always been part of my approach to government, talking to the residents that live in our community. I've been an alderman for 3 years, so I'm not an unknown person in this community. People do seek me out, they do call me, I get phone calls at home, and I do respond to those calls. So I try to communicate a great deal with our constituents.
Thanks. John?
Again, I agree with a lot of my constituents. You need to get out and meet the people. On my handouts for this election, I have my home phone number on there. I encourage people to call me. In my 11 years on the school board, I've met with literally dozens of groups and hundreds of people. As a parent in the community, I meet with parent groups at the schools. You've got to be able to listen. You can't turn people off and walk away. I think that's the most important thing that any government official can do is listen to the people. You need to go out, and whether you agree or disagree, you need to hear what they have to say. So personal contact and returning phone calls and being available is very important.
Thank you, John. Any other questions this morning? Yes.
I arrived a little late, so I'm not sure if this issue was addressed earlier, but I have a great concern about the still unresolved casino conversion. And I don't think there's been a more divisive issue in our community in the last decade, maybe as long as I ever lived here. I don't really remember it. Perhaps so I guess I know where Judy and Mark and Ron stand on the conversion of the dog track into a casino. And I am interested in the views of the challengers and how they will vote if this issue comes up again before the city council.
Would it be okay with you if we ask everyone to respond to that in case people don't? Okay. In light of time, yes. The question is regarding the casino and what your views and thoughts are that if it were to come to vote to the city council. And we will start with Mark.
Well, as most of you know, I am very much opposed to the conversion of the casino and the sale of the property, the dog track property, to the Indians for a lot of reasons. And I don't need to go into them here except to say that I do not believe that it would increase our quality of life in Hudson. I also do not believe that ultimately it would be in the economic best interest of the community.
Okay, John?
I believe the city's probably entangled in one of the largest lawsuits it ever has been involved in. And I believe that's because they did not act responsibly. As the theme for my election is, I said, to act responsibly. The city, the school district, the county were involved in 2 years of negotiations to have a contract if and when that dog track should ever be converted into a casino. It's my opinion, after 2 years, that the city backed out of that agreement. That's the result, the reason why the lawsuit is there today. I'm willing to accept whatever the courts decide. Unfortunately, that's going to cost the city of Hudson hundreds of thousands of dollars. It may be even the result of us not being able to get some public liability insurance. Whatever the community wants is what I think will happen up there, although I believe that the city of Hudson has little control over it. The state and the federal government's going to ultimately decide that, and we need to act responsibly with those decisions and be involved in them and not be involved in court.
Okay, thank you. Randy?
I'll vote yes for anything that's going to bring jobs back into this community, whether it be a casino or whether it be whatever it can be. Either way, we got to bring a business or something in there that's going to give somebody the opportunity to work, that's going to pay for the facility itself before it goes back to the taxing citizens.
Okay, Minda?
I would agree with Randy that whatever is in there, it needs to be done. But at this point, I don't think it's up to us to decide whether it's going to be a casino or not. It's in the courts. Whatever comes back from that is what we're going to have to live with. And as John said, we're going to have to live with that liability of whatever that court case is going to cost us. At the same time, I don't care if it's a daycare in there. We need to have something in that facility. It's a wonderful, beautiful park. that we need to use one way or the other, whether it be the court comes back and says the casino can come in here, or we go on to a convention center or whatever.
Okay, thank you. Judy?
The city did nothing wrong. We have adequate insurance, and let me quote you what our attorney said in the Pioneer Press. At no time did the city sell its soul to the casino and give up its freedom to express its concerns about the project. And that's what was quoted by our attorney. I think we have a definite reason to stay with our present posture. We have obviously, we have said the council is opposed to this. This is not what the community wants in its future. I'm opposed to that large chunk of land being removed from our tax base and from our planning and any other control we have. So I'm very definitely opposed to the casino, and I'm right up front about it.
Thank you, Judy. Ron?
My views on this are a matter of public record and been stated thoroughly. It would only be restating what Judy has said, but I oppose the Indian gaming casino in our city. It would be detrimental to our well-being.
Okay, and...
Greg took my question.
Oh, okay. Any other questions for the candidates this morning? Susie?
One of the most frustrating things that I find, I think, driving around the community of Hudson is this different speed limits. When I go out on County Road, towards County Road F, I think it's like 30 or 35. When you go down Crestview Drive, it's 40. On this side of the freeway, it's 30 or 35. Have those issues been addressed, and what are your feelings?
And are you addressing that to everyone? The question is regarding the speed limits and the variety of different speed limits throughout the city, and what your views are on that. And I will start with Judy.
I haven't had a chance to start yet.
Sorry, I'm trying to be random.
Well, I'd ask Kathy Morris to answer that, but since I'm asked, we are addressing those, and they are changing, and we do change them. I know it is difficult, and we are listening to a lot of the currents. Just most recently have been looking at that, and I know up in that ward, up in Mr. Pearson's ward, there is concern because of the changes between the 45 and dropping down. So we are listening, and we are trying to address that problem, yes.
Okay, Randy.
Certainly listen to if there's a problem there, as you say, then yeah, something needs to be done. I agree.
Okay, Minda?
I think that it's a public safety matter that we need to have our police department and our street department look into, and I know that I'm with you. you all of a sudden think, oh, what did that sign say? I don't remember. But at the same time, it's something that between our police department and our street department, they are the ones that have to ultimately decide that, and we need to let them do their job too.
Okay, John.
I think it's an issue of moving traffic in the areas that outskirt the city. The speed limits are a little higher to get people around to the areas in a more fashionable way. I think one of the things that was interesting the last year or so was we brought in a speed monitor. I believe it was from River Falls. It was parked on different streets, and it would tell you how fast you're going. I'd love to promote that. I'd love to have the city buy one, and I think the use of that promotes safety, awareness, and it will help with a lot of our traffic problems.
Ron?
Well, I serve on the Public Safety Committee, and this is a monthly discussion with us, and let me tell you, we own a speed monitoring device. We did buy one last year. We have set it out on public streets, and it has been there for people to look at their speeds. And more often than not, it's the person who is speeding. It's not the speed limit that's become the problem in our community.
Mark?
I agree that the current signs and varying degrees of speeds is a little bit confusing. I guess I would have to defer to whatever recommendations that the parking or the Public Safety Committee and police would make. I think that the use of the speed monitor is very positive and does have a good impact on reminding people to keep their speed down.
Okay. Before I do our final comments, please join me in recognizing all the candidates this morning. The next Good Morning Hudson will be held on April 22nd, featuring Mike Veck from the St. Paul Saints, and that will be held at the Hudson House Inn. And thank you to the sponsor of today's program, NSP, and to all of our candidates. Remember to get out and vote on April 1st. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Serving the St. Croix Valley for over 10 years with great community-produced programming. You're watching Community Access Television, Channel 10, serving Hudson, North Hudson.